And welcome back to the Ruby Tuesday. My name's Ruben and this is my review for Netflix's new original series from Kuwait called The Exchange. I actually knew nothing about it. I chucked it on this morning thinking that maybe I'll watch an episode, and then I ended up watching all 6 episodes throughout the day. But was it good? I mean, just by me watching it, maybe that gives you an inkling, but how good was it? Let's talk about it. Set in Kuwait in 1988, 2 women making their way in the boys' club of Kuwait Stock Exchange on the eve of Saddam Hussein's invasion of the country. So there's 6 episodes, 50 minutes apiece, and this paints a picture of the late 1980s exactly as that, I guess, synopsis says. You get the clothes that you would expect from the culture, but you also see these 2 powerful women coming from 2 different walks of life. One is just dealing with a divorce and has a daughter and has to move in with her parents. The other is trying to make her way as a woman without having to deal with men. And now if you were in a culture where you thought that it was hard to be a woman, like even in the modern age, in the equality culture thing, we're now just getting there in the first world, but there are still many places around the world where this is not the case. And so you can imagine what that looks like, and that's exactly the picture or the fight that you see these 2 women go from, trying to make a way in their own world, but actually also being incredibly intelligent and smart. So what we get over these 6 episodes is really a picture of how they have to fight every bit of the way, tooth and nail, everything that like men would fight for but would come pretty much easier than what women had in that time, compared to what they're wearing, just being women, to there not even being a bathroom for women in the stock exchange, because women don't go, women aren't allowed really, and so they have to deal with sexism throughout their jobs compared to what they're wearing, and also just because they're a woman, because women can't be smart enough to be in the stock exchange. At least that's what insinuated from most of the men. Thankfully, this is not a men are terrible series. There are quite a few good men characters in this. One particular is the grandfather who is in charge, is the chief of a newspaper, and is kind of the guiding voice for one of our main protagonists, and I love their interactions. I think that's where this series works well. These little nuanced interactions between our 2 characters whenever they're dealing with certain issues. So there's not just stock exchange moments of how they are showing their smarts and trying to beat the system and trying to beat the stock exchange with men and beat men down. Well, not just beat men down, but get to a point where they can be valued of equal, not because of their sex, but because of who they are and the skill they bring to the table. That's part of the story. The other part of the story is our main protagonist has the daughter who's now living in a divorced relationship, wants to have a relationship with both mother and father, but that is equally difficult because obviously again it's to do with what value women have, especially in the late 1980s in Kuwait. You can imagine, and just before the bombing of Saddam Hussein and how that affects the stock exchange, all of that, it's shown in a very exciting light, the way they show it. I mean, I did wonder, like, how exciting can it be to show stock exchange numbers, buy, sell, and that can get boring very quickly. But when it makes you feel like you're intelligent for watching something that's all about numbers that you might not understand, I mean, maybe you do deal on the stock exchange and you understand that, but I think for the most part, most people will watch this for the relationships that are formed, the story within, and the story within is very exciting. Not just that stock exchange, as I was mentioning earlier about the relationships within. The mother and daughter, they go through a huge, I guess, characterizations of where they were from the beginning, how they end up at the end. There's a big path that they follow, so that is interweaved with the main arc. And then we have our 2 main protagonists, 2 females who are butting heads all the time. They're cousins and they're family, but they're also trying to stand on their own 2 feet, and they have different ideals in life, and that's shown very well. So they're frenemies and friends, that sort of thing. They're family, and that rivalry works well to create a friendship within their bubble, but also quite fun to watch them kind of going head to head. I liked how it was scored. I think that is one of the strongest things again about this series. The score is very atmospheric. It lends you into the drama and the story. And then the acting, I thought everybody was very good. Believable characters. The dialogue complements the acting. The actors deliver their lines in a way that makes you believe that you're watching the characters as if they are. You forget that you're watching actors, but are immersed into the story. And that's comes from good directing, a well edited story that leaves you wanting more, rather than you going with so many Netflix series where I go, I wish this was shorter, or I wish this wasn't so drawn out. That didn't happen for me. So although this is massively dialogue heavy, it's actually very exciting to watch, and you are left wanting more. I could stand to watch another season of this if they had a good story, but for the most part there is a contained arc here within it. So I don't want them to ruin it if it like does well and it catches in the zeitgeist of the world and people start going, yeah, you should watch this. I think maybe they should do a one and done, unless they have a great series. I definitely think you should check this on, give it a go if you don't mind reading subtitles, because that's what I always recommend. Listen to the original language and read the subtitles, because that's the way it was intended. So I'll probably give this 4 Nicolas Cages out of 5.
And you got one. Congratulations.
Thanks so much for watching. Most of all, until next time, remember, live long on Tuesday.